Hello, welcome back to Bet Builders. I am Statman Dave, and today I'm joined by James Allcott to preview all the action in game week 10 in the Premier League. Today we're going to be talking about all the big topics: Liverpool's new defence, Man City's next 10 games, Lampard versus Mourinho, and Bruno Fernandes. But James, just before we dive in, do you reckon you can do better than last time you came on the show?
Well, I didn't get a single one right last time, so yes, I can is the answer.
Yes, he can.
Yes, he can.
Brilliant.
Yes, we can.
If you want to check out more tips on the 10th weekend of the Premier League, go on to freesupertips.com. There's loads of great tips and bets over there that you guys can go and follow. Let's check back into game week 9. We got one winner. Again, luckily I came in clutch for the team. My bet for the West Ham game came through with the Hammers to win an under 2.5 goals. But let's see if we can do better this week. So first up, we've got a bit of a corker of a game. Sees Crystal Palace face Newcastle. Two teams that are kind of geared on one player, you'd say. Okay. Wilfried Zaha has been directly involved in 58% of Crystal Palace's goals in the Premier League this season, but could be out. Then you've got Callum Wilson, who's returning from a hamstring injury. He's been directly involved in 70% of Newcastle's goals in the Premier League. Which player do you think is more important for either side?
Well, first of all, Dave, actually, I'm going to go back to your intro there, because there was a lot of sarcasm in that intro. Are you saying this is a big game or not a big game?
I'm saying this could be a corker.
As a fan of a team a little bit lower down,
yeah.
These, let's give these guys the respect they deserve.
You give me the respect then.
Okay.
Are you talking Zaha or Callum Wilson? Who's more important?
Who's more important? I would say Callum Wilson is far more important. Newcastle don't create much anyway, so they're going to need to be clinical when they do. Callum Wilson's been everything in terms of the goal involvements for Newcastle this season. So I think with Zaha, there's now some other components. It's just, will Hodgson ever sort of let them free? Abir Eze is a player I've seen so much over the last couple of years, and I think he's wonderful and he's ready for the Premier League. So if you didn't have Zaha, I think they've still got a few ingredients there, whereas Newcastle, it's Wilson or Joe Linton, pretty much, right? But
then you've got St Maximum in the side as well that could potentially take a game by the scruff of his neck with his dribbling, with his playmaking. But let's dive straight into the bets. James, we're going to go into your bet first up. You've gone with correct score 1-1 on Callum Wilson any time.
Yes. Callum Wilson, as we've said, I think is the main man for them. They've saved him. I think that Chelsea game, they'd given up before they even went out, and Wilson was part of that. They wanted to save him for games like this. And I think, look, if they get a penalty, he's going to be taking it. If they get a chance, it's probably going to be him who's in the box. They're for it. So I think this is quite a basic one. I don't think there's going to be many goals in this game, Dave. I don't think it's one for the entertainers. Again, despite the exciting players that Crystal Palace have, and actually you say St Maximum as well. That said, I think, not many goals. I see it being a draw. Defence is on top, but Wilson to grab one.
I completely agree with that. If we take a look at my bet as well, but I'm going to go slightly different. I think under 2.5 goals in the match. I'm going to go Newcastle draw double chance. If we look at both fixtures from last season, Newcastle 1-1-1-0 and Palace 1-1-1-0, but I do think Callum Wilson will be the difference. And if Wilfried Zaha isn't available, then Newcastle massively going into that. In terms of Callum Wilson, you're looking at his shots, his chances created. He's massively ahead of the rest of the Newcastle players combined. Let's take a look at Free Super Tips Bet Builder for today. They've gone for Palace, draw, double chance. Most goals in the second half and under 3 goals. So James, sticking with that low-scoring affair for Friday night football. Now to Premier League champions Liverpool. They faced the Seagulls. Brighton, who picked up a 2-1 win against Aston Villa last time out, but lost Tariq Lamptey.
Yes.
Red card. How influential do you think he's been this season, and will he be missed?
Well, I think a lot of Brighton fans have been really frustrated with the way that they've played in a strange way. They've been excited by it, but they kind of haven't got the goals and overall haven't got the results, despite getting that win in the last one. But the golden boy has been Tariq Lamptey. Although he is sort of a right back, he's not really been playing as one, really. It's all been about his sort of attacking ability and his pace and his vigour. He's definitely been their player of the season so far. So to lose him, I think is huge. And they're going to have to find a new way against a Liverpool team that doesn't seem to want to crumble as much as everything gets thrown at them.
We're talking about losing players. We read off the injury list last week, the 10 injuries Liverpool had.
A long video.
And they actually played Fabinho at centre-half, which was a great decision from Jurgen Klopp. Fabinho, I think, can be the guy to replace Virgil van Dijk in terms of passing. He completed 98% of his 82 passes in the game. He's going to be massively important for playing a team like Brighton that will create chances. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see how Brighton's set up. Will they go with Maupay and another? Will they go with Connolly as well? But I think Connolly...
Danny Welbeck, of course.
Danny Welbeck,
scored
of course.
A great goal
absolutely. Because I think the thing with Fabinho is, can you, as structured as Liverpool are Fabinho doesn't really have that pace one-on-one. So if you can get some bodies buzzing around him, then maybe you can sort of get yourself one or two chances. And they're also very good on the ball, Brighton. So I think they'll be able to keep a bit of possession. That said, I think Liverpool. That was the one last week, wasn't it? I think we were waiting for that wobble, and it didn't arrive. And Fabinho has been a big part of that. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And Andy Robertson as well. You've got to look at the left back. He's been sensational this season.
Yeah.
The ball to Diogo Jota was just so good. And without Trent, he's got to step up. James Milner as well played really well at right back. So Klopp's just got a great squad.
Yeah, I think the system suits the fact that it's Trent that's missing rather than Robertson, because Robertson's always the guy that goes and Trent kind of sits back a little bit more and puts those crosses in. So you might lose that crossing ability on that right-hand side, but all the other functional bits, it doesn't affect the whole balance of the team, and that's why they're relying on Robertson, and he's delivered. He's been superb. Absolutely.
Let's take a look at the bets. So you're back in Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp again this week. Going to go 3-0 Liverpool win, and Jota any time.
Yes. I mean, he's on fire at the moment. The big debate here is, will he start or will he come on? But I don't think that really matters at the moment, because when he does come on, he's scoring goals anyway. Me and you both love our FPL. It's a big decision this week when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I think you might also get a little bit more value with Jota because he might be on the bench. I think it's an interesting one, and I expect Liverpool to win this one with Brighton not having Lamptey.
I think that's a bit. I kind of like that bet. I think even if Liverpool are down a goal, let's say Jota comes on, could put it in the back of the net. But if they are down a goal, that 3-0 doesn't come in. But again, you look at that Liverpool defence. Milner, Fabinho, Matip, and Robertson. It looks fine.
Yeah,
it arguably looks like that could be a Champions League defence, and you wouldn't be surprised.
And I'll put it back to you. Do you think that with those players missing, do you think the rest of the team have maybe switched on a little bit more with defence? I think often I hear people talk about defence being an attitude. So maybe they're being that little bit more careful, because the 7-2 was when Van Dijk was in the team. So maybe as a collective, they're being a bit more switched on defensively.
I think as well, look, the season's got to be, you've got to get match fit. That 7-2 was uncharacteristic. It was a little bit like a pre-season game, how open it was. And I kind of agree that the team is going to be a lot more responsible as a unit, because they know that they can't expose the defence. But Alisson is so big, so important. It's someone that we don't touch on. And he's such a good goalkeeper, commanding, fantastic off his line, really good with the ball at his feet. So him in there, I think, helps that back line out as well. We always talk about like a Peter Schmeichel-esque figure, and I think Alisson is for this Liverpool team. In terms of my bet, I'm going to be backing Liverpool as well. Over 4.5 goals in the game as well. I think it's going to be a real electric game. Brighton have done well. They've got one of the best records in terms of taking shots on their own goal in the Premier League. But I think this is going to be a game where they'll try and play against Liverpool, and Mohamed Salah will kill them on the counter-attack. If available.
I agree. I think with Brighton, I'm not sure they know how to play defensively, because they've opened the door now into keeping the ball and being a bit more attacking, and I think that's where with those growing pains as becoming a better team, they're going to walk into this one, and I think they get it handed to them, unfortunately.
Let's take a look at FST's bet right now for the game. I think they'd be pretty similar to what we've got here. Liverpool to win the game. Both teams to score, and Mane anytime. Mane has been sensational this season.
Yeah, I think he's a real leader for them, actually, especially with Van Dijk not being there. I mean, I'm not sure what he's like in the dressing room in terms of that vocal idea of a leader, but in terms of him being the trigger point for a lot of their presses and things like that, I think he's absolutely massive for them. Always there, always fit, always scoring, always creating. Yeah, he's wonderful. They're a good team, aren't they?
Both teams to score as well is what Brighton do create the chances. Mopé could pop up with a goal. Danny Welbeck could pop up with a goal. There's definitely goals in the team. It is going to who plays that right big.
Maybe set pieces as
well.
Maybe
set pieces could be a good shout as well. Three big centre halves. Liverpool lacking that height at the back without Virgil van Dijk. I do like this bet. I think it's a good one. So next up, Manchester City versus Burnley. This is a massive run for City.
Yes.
They've got some winnable games in the next 10. We're talking the likes of West Brom, Fulham, Southampton, Brighton. Of course, they've still got to play the Manchester Derby, and they've got to, of course, play against Chelsea. But this is the time. If City want to challenge for the title, they have got to go.
Yeah. I think often there are these games where it's a little bit easier opposition. Burnley could easily frustrate them. And the thing I've been frustrated when it comes to Man City is they seem to keep playing inside, and then those shots are coming from a kind of narrow part of the pitch, the centre of the pitch, which a team like Tottenham were ready to block last week, and Burnley will be more than happy to block this week. So I think they need to use the width a lot better at Man City. But I think if they get that one win, Aguero starts playing, scoring, there's no reason why they can't have a really big win this week, and then you kind of find your form with that one game, and then you're off and running. Because the next 3 games, I think, 3 of the next 4 are at home against quite poor sides, so they've got a real good chance.
This is the real chance, I think, and I kind of agree with you. Teams farming City inside, simple for them to kind of deal with it, which is strange. You think this squad that Guardiola's built, it's like £500 million, nearly £750 million.
Yeah, and it confuses me because I'm thinking, Guardiola knows more than me. Like, surely he can see that Ferran Torres keeps going inside, Mahrez, same thing. So I'm surprised they're not using the width that they need to when teams defend in a low block like they always do.
The issue, obviously, against the Burnley is if you're going to sling crosses in, they've got centre-halves, Tarkowski,
coming back,
Ben Mee, that can deal with that. The other side as well, Burnley scored a very, very Burnley goal last time out. That goal Chris Wood scored was a long ball up, breaks down, and Wood applies the finish. And I think that's something that City can't deal with at the moment. So I think this game's going to be really good. But let's dive into the bet straight away. James, what have you gone with for this game?
I think it's going to be difficult. My history suggests that they'll find their groove, but I think they are really struggling. There isn't that same zip about them at the moment. And if I go on the last game, the way they're playing tactically, as we've said, it doesn't suggest that they're going to score too many goals because, like I said, they're not getting to the byline and pulling it back, which is where they've got so many goals in the last few years. So I think it might be harder than they think, but I do think they'll have too much quality, and I think they'll get a goal. They'll get a 1-0.
They'll get a 1-0 win.
Well, they just haven't been scoring goals this year, which is not what we normally say about Man City. So I'm going head with this one.
No, it makes sense. 5 goals in the last 6 Premier League games, but last season was actually 5-0 Man City in this fixture. So 1-0 is bold. I do like it. It's bold.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen. Let's move on to my bet. I'm going to be back in Man City for this game. I can't look past it. When we talk about Sterling, Kevin De Bruyne, Aguero, they've scored 3 Premier League goals between them this season. That isn't a lot. That's something that you kind of expect that to be at this point.
So maybe 1-0. So you're not miles off me then.
I think that there'll be goals, but it'll be kind of a bit of a controlled display from City. Right. I don't think they'll go out there and completely destroy a team, but it'll be more of, we'll open you up once or twice, we'll get the goals and we'll sit back. That's what Guardiola needs. Yeah. After the result against Tottenham Hotspur, that's what he needs. Let's take a look at FST's bet as well that they've built for this game. Man City to win to 0, and Man City to score in both halves, which I quite like that bet. Again, the kind of City clean sheet is what we kind of expect.
Yeah.
Burnley, 4 goals in the Premier League this season? That is the joint worst record.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see who plays centre-back for this game because, Diaz has been good and Laporte is good as well. And they should be able to deal with the likes of Chris Wood. But if you bring in maybe Nathan Ake, maybe there's a bit of bullying that can go on there. Maybe they can get themselves a goal. I think the first half of this game is absolutely massive because they can just sort of exhale a little bit, Man City, if they get a goal in the first half.
I think I would, for this game, if I was Guardiola, go with Ake and Laporte. I think Diaz has got weakness in the air. Okay. That's where, you're thinking Jay Rodriguez and Chris Wood, horrible pair to play against if you're going to be physical and battle. But could be the moment that we've sort of turned around and say Diaz is the real deal for Man City. Everton, Leeds up next. This could be a really fun game to watch. Last weekend, my favourite game of the weekend was Fulham Everton. What a game that was. End-to-end, chances, 5 goals, a lot of fun. And the main man, James Rodriguez, was back, which meant that Luca Dean was creating.
That's it.
Calvert-Lewin was scoring. In terms of James Rodriguez, how important do you think he is for this Everton side?
I think what's amazing is that, what we're 9 games in and we know how Everton play when they're at their best. And it all does kind of start from him, as you said, them playing those passes over to Luca Digne or, Richarlison looking to get back and be better. But the goals will come for DCL far more if Digne's got the ball, Dean's got the ball and is getting those crosses in, and that comes from James. So I think we know how Everton play, which is a big step in the right direction, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think it's going to be an interesting game because Leeds picked up a point against Arsenal, clean sheet, but they should have won that game. Yeah. They had chance after chance after chance after chance. And I really feel if this Leeds team, if they want to stay up in the Premier League, there's so many teams worse than them, but they need to start picking up points, the 3 points in those types of games when they properly dominate. But are you backing Marcel Bielsa, who has been up there with the best coaches in European football this season?
Yeah, I do. I really like watching Leeds this year. I like that they're sort of fearless. I like that the way they play. I think every game that you play against Leeds is a kind of an anomaly that you shouldn't kind of concentrate on for too long because it's just such a different style of football than we see in any other team in the Premier League. I think he's great, and I think Phillips being back in the team will lead to better form for Leeds as well. And he's missed a few games, and then in that game they should have won that, but I think that the wins will come as will the goals.
Could be quite interesting because Everton played a 4-2-3-1 with James central last week. if they play that against Leeds, it will be Calvin Phillips up against James Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Two of the real instigators of the team. And you could think Calvin Phillips, who does do well in a defensive sense, could really do a number on the Colombian international. James, let's take a look at your bet, though. Who have you gone for this week? You've gone for a draw, over 3.5 goals, and Calvert-Lewin any time.
Yeah, a little mix of risky and safe I've gone with him. Calvert-Lewin, I think, is...
Risky and safe. Okay, yeah. The polar opposite. You've gone in the middle.
Yeah, it comes together for the perfect bet.
Yeah.
Calvert-Lewin, he can't stop scoring at the moment. I think he'll continue to do so. I do think there's going to be goals in this one. I do, because I think Everton do sort of leave that open to a team like Leeds who attack in the way that they do. I've got 3-3 in my head. And so that's where it kind of started from that. So that's where the draws come from, and that's where all the goals have come from. I think this could be one of the games of the weekend for me.
No, I agree with that. I definitely think it. And I've kind of gone quite similar with, in terms of my bet, I've gone Everton draw, double chance. And I've got Calvert-Lewin anytime. Calvert-Lewin, of course, got the best goals per 90 in the Premier League for any player to play over 90 minutes this season. But just looking at the underlying stats for James Rodriguez, when he's fit, so when he's firing, the 6 games this season I've taken into consideration there, their expected goals is 2.27. When he's not been firing, so when he got injured, and then they played Southampton, Newcastle and Manchester United, the expected goals drops down to 0.63.
Wow.
Massive impact, James Rodriguez. I think a fit James, it's going to be one hell of a fun game in this game. Let's take a look at FST's bet for this game. They've gone Everton to win the game, over 2.5 goals, and Calvert-Lewin, so very similar.
Yeah, and I think set pieces could be a big one for Everton as well. I think Leeds have conceded quite a lot of goals this year from set pieces, and Everton have got so many big guys there that and great delivery as well. So I think Calvert-Lewin it's bang on. It's going to happen, definitely.
Another relegation 6-pointer. West Brom up against Sheffield United. Chris Wilder has got a lot to do. This has got to be a must-win.
Yeah, I think that, history would suggest that second season after you've kind of had the adrenaline of going up and doing well, it is always very difficult for different teams. And I want to continue to back Chris Wilder, but watching the West Ham game, there was a lot of talk about, apparently he was quite, exuberant on the bench, because I think he knew they needed to win that game, because after that you've then got this pressure game of this West Brom game. They didn't. They weren't terrible, but the results need to start turning up. And this game is absolutely huge for both of these clubs, because I think if neither of them are winning, 10 games, say Sheffield United lose that game, 10 games, 1 point, they're in trouble.
They're Derby County season vibes if they continue with this mess. But let's dive straight into the bets for this game. Let's start with yours, James. You've gone half-time draw, full-time Sheffield United, and you've got Ollie McBurney to score any time.
Yeah.
They need a goal. They need goals is what they need. And Ollie McBurney's a physical threat in the box.
Yeah, I think, look, they're all struggling. All these Sheffield United players are struggling a little bit, and the big thing is goals. I think he's something that they will rely on in terms of the work rate that he can bring. Look, I think we're all hoping and waiting for Brewster to come in and score some goals, but I think you've got to lean on the players that have kind of got you to this point in terms of being in the Premier League. And I like McBurney. He's a bit of a nuisance, but he's got good feet as well. And I think in a game like this, I think it will definitely, in my head, be 0-0 at half-time, because I think they'll both be so nervous. But in the second half, they'll both understand that they need to get themselves a win. And I think Sheffield United have got just a little bit too much quality. And I think they'll get the job done. McBurney will get a goal.
I do like the half-time draw. I've gone kind of similar in my bet, but I've gone full-time draw. I think I'm predicting full-time. It's going to be very, very square. When you've got a 3-5-2 against a 3-5-2, usually quite a boring game. Over one card in the game as well. I think it's going to be a bit feisty. Both are fighting for their lives. So 3-1, pretty decent little bet there. We've gone for, that's my bet. Let's take a look at free super tips bet builder for this game. They have gone with a draw and under 3 goals in the game. So not so classic. On to Sunday for Manchester United's trip to Southampton. Man United have had a pretty decent week, beating West Brom 1-0 and then taking Istanbul Başakşehir apart 4-1.
Well said.
Do you think it's momentum that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's men need?
Is it momentum they need? Yeah, I mean, certainly. They need to continue this run of penalties. That's nice, isn't it? It's nice to have a free goal every single week.
If you've got technical players that are skillful in the penalty area, that have pace, that can spin people in behind, you're going to get penalties, James.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have been getting them. And I think that's it. They needed to things needed to calm down a little bit with the season. I think that Istanbul game, the international break was maybe quite helpful, actually, in terms of kind of letting that wash away, coming back. And those games that are supposedly a little bit easier in the Champions League, there is a real opportunity to get the form up, get the sort of good vibes going. And with Man United, the sort of pressure, the media pressure is huge. It's always a disaster, or they're going to go and win the league. I think they're actually somewhere in the middle. And I think this is a real fantastic test for them in Southampton, because I think in terms of them creeping back to their full confidence against a team that is playing with no pressure and with loads of confidence, I think this is a really exciting test for neutrals to watch. It's going to be interesting.
Definitely. Hasenhüttl's probably one of the best managers in the Premier League for me. Sensation in terms of how he's got this team playing. Danny Ings, big miss, but Shea Adams and Theo Walcott have been a bit of partnership together.
Yeah.
You're looking at the Newcastle game, Walcott assisted Adams, and in the Wolves game, Adams assisted Walcott. So maybe a little bit of a partnership building. Do you think those two can cause United problems? Pace, directness?
Yeah, and I think that suits. Walcott's a perfect fit. He's actually quite flexible in the different positions that he can play for. But in that system that Southampton play, he could start there and then dart inside and get himself some goals. Shea Adams it's interesting. He had such a bad season last season. He really was kind of finding his feet, but I think Ings almost kind of carried the burden for it. And I think now he knows he's good enough for this level. And you're seeing the benefits of it there, because he has got everything that you would want in a striker. So they're playing really well. There's no pressure on Southampton at all, which I think is always something that really helps in their favour when they get their recruitment right. And that added with Hasenhüttl doing bits for them, I think this is a really tough game for Man United. Really.
Are you going to back Southampton? Are you going to go bold and back Southampton and Hasenhüttl? Can he take them apart? You've got them as
on the fence. There we go. Yeah, sorry about that.
All that spiel for a draw. Absolutely terrible. Fernandes to score any time. That kind of happens in the Premier League, right? That's just a given.
Yeah, I said 3-3 earlier in a game. That was the Everton game. I see 2-2.
A 2-2?
I do see a 2-2. A Desmond. I can see it being a draw here. I think Southampton being at home, which how much of an advantage is that these days? But I think the way that they play, I'm intrigued to see the tactical battle between Man United team that can be a little bit defensive and look to soak up pressure, and Southampton with the way that they're playing, where they look to transition really, really quickly. Will there be the space for that? And because of that, I've kind of gone towards a draw, but guarantees, penalties, Fernandes too. Well, not to take them always. That's the thing. After the Champions League game, he might just give it to someone else. Hopefully he won't.
Continue this agenda that Fernandes just scores penalties. That's absolutely fine.
Score screamers from outside the box as well.
Let's move on to my bet for this game. I'm going to go with a Man United win. Fernandes anytime, Cavani anytime. I think number one, Donny van der Beek in the first 11 has to happen. Whether he's playing right, left, central midfield, don't care. Needs to start, quickens the tempo, plays one touch, can escape pressure. In this game, Southampton are going to press high. Remember last season, Paul Pogba losing the ball on the edge of the box. Donny very much played one touch against Istanbul Başakşehir in those situations. Straight out of the feet, straight to the fullback, no problem. And of course, I've got to include Penaldes in my bet. You're looking at in terms of 20 goals for Manchester United, faster than any midfielder in the club's history. Wow. And Cavani really impressed me with his hold-up play against Istanbul Başakşehir. 23 out of his 24 passes completed, held up the ball really well, was instrumental in that last little move, laid it off to Donny, Donny through to Mason, Mason to Dan James. Good night, Istanbul. Now let's move on to FST's bet for this game. They've gone Southampton draw, double chance, both teams to score. And Penaldes again.
I think there's nowhere else to look, really. He's so consistent, like you said, with the stats that back it up. I think, if you're putting a bet on a goal scorer, it has to be Fernandes.
Time for the game of the weekend. Chelsea up against Spurs. If one of these teams lose this game, is that the end of their title hopes?
That's a jump. No, I don't think it is at all. No, I don't think so. I think, look, I'm waiting for this Liverpool wobble, and I hope it comes. The reason why, because I think
it surely would have come against Leicester City.
You would have thought
it's just
so.
not going to happen, James. Let's be honest with ourselves.
But that's football. As soon as you get to a point where you think you'll never win a game of football, somehow you do, and vice versa. I think Liverpool's still far and away the best team in the league. I think these two teams, you can look at it different ways. I feel like Chelsea have just a sort of plethora of answers in terms of the attacking options that they have. They don't have the same chemistry as a Liverpool, and maybe not even as a Spurs in terms of this kind of culture that Mourinho's brought into how they're playing, the attitude.
Mourinho.
Yeah, but with Spurs, I don't think they've got as much attacking quality as Chelsea. So as the season,
so you're telling me that Harry Kane and Heung-min Son have not got the same quality as Abraham and Timo Werner?
No, I agree. They have more. I have more than those, but. Give me 10 names. I think you can give you 10 names.
But you don't need to. You've got the Premier League's second top scorer. You've got Harry Kane that's assisting for fun. He's like the next Pele in number 10.
And neither of them ever get injured, do they?
No.
So that's my thing. I'm thinking, does the injury come for Harry Kane? Does the injury come for Son? Often it does. And I think that's where they might struggle. And the person that comes in is a Gareth Bale, who sometimes gets injured as well.
Not a bad replacement, you're going to be honest. Gareth Bale comes in. A few Premier League teams would want that as an option off the bench. But let's talk about the managers. Mourinho up against Lampard. Is there anything you think Lampard's taken tactically from Mourinho on his side?
Yeah, I think that Man United game a few weeks ago, I looked at it and I felt, if I'm being really harsh, I thought it was a little bit cowardly. I don't think they really went for it. But he was saying he was looking to build a base. And then as the games have gone on recently, they haven't been conceding too many goals. So, he's been good to his word and it's worked out. And I think that comes from, playing under Mourinho. I think he's very cold in that way of understanding that, yes, I've got all these players, but we need to get it right at the back first. And he's now starting to get that kind of confidence in the defensive side of it, and now he's trying to kind of bring the attacking side of it. And I think that does come from Mourinho, who loves to defend, doesn't he?
He does love to defend, but he also likes to attack this season in the Premier League. You're looking at Liverpool have taken more shots on goal in terms of top goal scorers as well. So we've got to look at Mourinho a little bit differently. It's not really Mourinho though, is it? It's Jose Sacramento. Let's all be honest with ourselves right here. We sort of watched Manchester United under Jose Mourinho. Yes, that was boring. But let's dive into the bet. So you're back in Lampard or you're back in Mourinho? You're back in nobody.
Back on the fence.
James!
I think exactly what I just said there. I think both of these managers are more than happy just to get out of this game without losing. And I think this is an absolute stinker of a game this weekend. I think they both play pretty much for a draw. If they can sneak that goal in transition like Spurs did against Man City, then they'll take it and wonderful. But I could just see this definitely being a 0-0 for me. I've got to stop saying definitely, but I can see a 0-0. I can see a 0-0.
You need to stop sitting on the fence. Let's jump into my bet. I've slightly sat on the fence, but I've also backed Tottenham Hotspur, draw, double chance, and Son anytime. Heung-min Son, 9 goals in the Premier League, the form of his life right now. And the way that Mourinho used him against Man City was superb. Played him on the right-hand side, got him behind Cancelo. They drew Laporte out with Harry Kane. It was perfect. And I think the same thing is going to happen to Chelsea. I think you could do that with either Chilwell at left back, or you can do that with James at right back. Either player is susceptible for that movement. Heung-min Son is going to have an absolute worldie of a game.
Do you think there's any way he doesn't play 3 at the back for Chelsea?
I think they play 4 at the back. I think they've settled on this 4-5-1, Mourinho-esque 4-5-1. Kante's going to have a big job to stop Ndombele as well, because he was very, very good against Man City. Yep. Player with great talent and great potential. Obviously, it's taken a bit of time for Mourinho to like him, but now we're seeing that. The little feint, the through ball to Son. Superb. Let's take a look at 3 super tips. Bet builder for this game. Over 2 goals in the game. Werner anytime and Son anytime.
I mean,
Werner had a lot of chances. Over the last, let's say, 7 days, he's had a lot of chances on goal.
Yeah, I mean, cream rises to the top. We know he's a good player. And the goals will come. Will it come in this game? I don't know. I keep coming back to the idea that I think they'll both be a little bit wary of each other. I think cagey, very cagey, because I think that's Mourinho's nature and it's working. And for Chelsea, because it's Lampard, and Lampard's thinking because it's Mourinho. So I think it's a bit cagey, this one for me.
Well, let's move on to Arsenal versus Wolves. Arsenal very out of form going forward. They haven't scored a goal from open play in the last 7 hours. Pepe suspended. Who's coming in to save the day?
Dave, imagine Arsenal fan going, let's listen to Dave. He's pretty spot on. He'll keep it neutral.
Guys, I'm sorry. It was just on the iPad. I had to read it. But you're talking Willian.
It's coming though. It's coming.
You're talking Saka maybe. Aubameyang. What's going on with Arsenal?
I think they just don't have that creativity. I've said this for kind of 2 years. The squad's getting better, and I like Arteta, but I don't think it's that great a squad. And I also don't think. I think Arteta's making the best of what he's got right now. I think he's 2 transfer windows away. When we look at Mourinho last season, everyone's going, it's horrible to watch. But he kind of needed a few pieces to the puzzle. He's got 1 or 2 Arteta, but with Ozil not playing, he's not got those false 8s that he wants if he wants to play that Man City style of football. So he's trying to play with the sort of hand that he's got right now. So he's being defensively strong, but attacking.
At the same time, he signs off the Willian deal. Looks pretty bad right now. It looks like a bit of a stinky transfer.
Yeah.
You're looking at the other players that they've brought in. They obviously chose Partey over Aouar. Maybe not a Mikel Arteta decision, but an Eduardo decision.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting one, because actually I think would they be in a better place with Aouar? I think they would, and I think in hindsight, obviously that's perfect. But I think that was their chance to get him, so they wanted to get it done. I mean, talking about transfers that haven't worked out. I mean, Pepe as well. It's not.
He's still a good player though. He is a very, very good player. He just needs to not be drawn into people winding him up. Simple as that. That's it. He needs to be fit. He needs to be playing. He needs to be getting that match fitness back. You just can't. If someone's winding you up, you just take a step back.
And he needs that player.
Take a step back.
Yeah, I agree. He needs that player with him as well to kind of. I think once they've got one or two more pieces to the puzzle, then they can be a lot more attacking. But at the moment, he's playing with the hand that he's got, which isn't that great.
Yeah, it isn't great. Wolves, though, they played a back four last week. That was a surprise. I spat my cereal out when I was watching that game again. Had cereal for dinner. 1-1 draw with Southampton. Connor Cody, though, is back. So you expect them to go back to that back three?
Yes, absolutely. I think, is that the first time he's ever done that then?
I think that is the first time he's done that in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I was like, what is the apocalypse happening? Do we need to go into the bunker?
Yeah, I think, look, I looked at this fixture and I was like, will there be goals in this one?
Well, James, tell me whether you think there's been goals in this game. What is your bet saying? Half-time draw, full-time draw, Aubameyang and Jimenez. So at least you've not sat on the fence with the goal scorers, but this is pathetic.
I think it's 1-1. I'll tell you what happens. It's 1-1 and it's 0-0 at half-time. Because that's what Wolves do. Wolves score and sort of open up a little bit more in the second half. Arsenal, they can't score currently at the moment. But I think Aubameyang, this has got to stop. He's got to score at some point. And Jimenez, I think you can always rely on him.
Signed a new contract, can't be bothered anymore. Jimenez is missing chances left, right and centre. He had a lot against Southampton. But that is why he's in my bet. We're all on to the bet that I have built. I've thrown Jimenez in because
he missed chances.
He missed chances. He's too good a striker to consistently miss these chances. Going to grab a goal, going to go over 12.5 corners in the match as well. I think it's going to be one of those games. Backs against the walls for Wolves, maybe. Domination of the ball for Arsenal, or alternatively, a little bit of a trade of possession. There will be corners. So that is a 10-1 beauty.
That's a good bet.
Let's take a look at free super tips. Bet builder as well. Where have they gone? They've gone Wolves, draw, double chance, and under 3 goals. Arsenal in the bin.
Arsenal, yeah, I think this Wolves are, Wolves are a very good time. Wolves are a very good team. And they're hard to break down. And this just has a draw written all over it, surely.
And on to our penultimate game, Leicester up against Fulham. Leicester got mauled by Liverpool last time out. Fulham put up a decent fight against Everton, especially in that second half. I was quite impressed, but were far too open throughout the game. This has got Jamie Vardy written all over, hasn't it? Yeah,
I think the bet that we're going to get to, I've kind of gone around.
Let's dive straight into
it. So the bet that I've got here, I'm going with the exact same result as the last time these two played. And actually, I think Vardy scored 2 goals in that game. Tielemans scored the other. And I can see that happening again. I think Fulham are improving a little bit. I think, we saw them and West Brom side by side. I think they've got a little bit more going forward. They can't seem to score a penalty at the moment. But I like Leicester. I like them this season. They've got players coming back. I think they're only going to get better. I think the Liverpool game was due to the fact that it worked against some of these other teams where you were careful and then went for it.
It was the same strategy against 3-4-3 against this Liverpool team. It's just stupid.
Yeah, I think
Rodgers got it completely wrong.
I think he did, and I think he will learn from that. I'd love to see him in those bigger games. Really have a go soon and find out how good they are.
I think they need Ndidi to do that. I think they need Ndidi, they need Tielemans, and they need Maddison in form.
Yeah, and Johnny Evans not to head the ball into his own goal. I think that their quality will shine with this one. Vardy, it's just guaranteed goals for him, surely.
Absolutely, I've gone with a very similar bet. I've gone Leicester to win the game. Fulham, defensively, very, very poor. And Vardy, anytime, I just think the chances will be there. You're looking in the Premier League, only Calvert-Lewin and Son have scored more. He's a man that has scored all the penalties this season. He should be the real Penaldes, if we're going to be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
If you're looking at his expected goals, tiny when you take the penalties out. But this is a game, just for me, that Fulham is far too open.
Yeah, and it's about focus and concentration with Fulham's backline for me. They always switch off, and Vardy is just the complete opposite.
And that is why FST have got him in the bet as well. Vardy score any time, over 2 goals in a game, and Leicester to win a match. It's kind of like a clean sweep back in Leicester City. And finally, West Ham versus Aston Villa. 2 teams that are kind of geared on one player. Jack Grealish for Aston Villa, and of course Mikel Antonio has been the star for West Ham. Should be back from injury this week.
Yes.
That's going to be massive. But would you stick with Allaire or would you go with Mikel Antonio?
I think it's really tricky. I think he's almost, with David Moyes, he's kind of earned the right to be able to kind of go, no, you keep it. Whereas I think if they were a little bit further down the league, because they've done brilliantly and no one's spoken about them at all. With the run of fixtures that they had to kick off with, I was very worried about them. And they've done brilliantly because they've been very, very sturdy and steady. And Haller got himself that goal. I just think it might be one where, for the good of the morale of the whole squad, you start with Haller and you bring on Antonio. But Antonio has been superb, hasn't he? Since he got that opportunity to be that forward and be given the respect that he deserves, because I think he's a really wonderful player for them and does so much hard work for them as well. He doesn't look the greatest, but he just, the results are there for all to see. So I think it would probably be a mix of the two. I think he'll probably start Haller in this game, and I think this is a really tough one to call. I think you could go either way with it.
Yeah, because it was a bit of a surprising one last time, wasn't it, for Aston Villa? Their late penalty that wasn't a penalty, that was VAR'd. That was a bit of an issue, but I do think when they've got a front man as well in Ollie Watkins, he knows how to put the ball on the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, it's another one of those Brentford strikers that come into the Premier League.
It's like they do their good recruitment with statistics. Yeah. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Exactly. No, he's come in and they really... Sometimes you see players that they play together and you go, oh, they like passing the ball to each other, and Barkley, Grealish and Watkins are exactly that. I do wonder if they can totally break teams down. I think some of the better results have come against the Liverpools and the Arsenals, where the counter-attacking has been wonderful. But you really should back a Grealish to be able to do that. Be interested to see how Watkins deals with that in a game where I think they'll probably dominate possession, Aston Villa, in this one.
So they dominate possession, but do they win the game? Let's take a look at your bet, James. What have you got for us this final game of the bet building session? West Ham to win the game and Souček to score any time.
Yeah, I think defences, it might be sort of styles makes fights kind of idea with this one. I feel like Aston Villa, this might be where we kind of see the sort of maybe some of the weaknesses in it, because I think just West Ham have been so resolute and a little bit defensive, but on the counter-attack can do stuff. And I just think Souček, maybe those runs into the box, he's been brilliant at that. I think he could have even scored more goals this season. It hasn't totally happened to him just yet, but I reckon you could get good value on Souček to score a goal. He's Moyes' Fellaini, and I think they can get themselves a clean sheet, and I think the defences are starting to kind of get back on top this season, and I think this might be the case with West Ham.
See, I've gone kind of the other way. I've gone for the draw, but goals in the game. And it could be quite open. I think with Haller, with Antonio, with Ollie Watkins for Villa, there'll be goals in this game. I think, like as you mentioned, Thomas Souček's a threat from set pieces. Yeah. But you look at Villa, Konsa's a threat.
Yeah.
You've got Mings as a threat. I think there's a lot of goals in this game. So I've gone over 2.5 goals, Watkins anytime, and a draw. Let's take a look at 3 super tips. Bet, I reckon they may have gone for Aston Villa. No, they've gone for West Ham United, both teams to score. Backing you there, James.
That's always a dangerous thing to do. So I would suggest always go with our Dave on this one. It really is a toss of a coin, this one. I think it's going to be really, really interesting. I just feel like the defence might kind of come out on top in this one.
So there we have it. We have just built some more bets on 3 super tips. Of course, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you're new. James, where can the people find you?
I'm pretty much everywhere, to be honest. Twitch, YouTube. Just search my name, James Allcott, ALLCOTT.
And if you do want to follow any of the bets that we have built today, it's Safer Gambling Week, so please gamble responsibly.